connected to a lot of departments, and I also support many of them. So as a result of that, automatically kind of connected to all.
Excellent, excellent.
Also, I think personal interest. I try to stay connected to see what's happening across.
Hope you're not lost touch with biology.
Oh, absolutely not. And actually, that's something that I'm going to talk about in the
Excellent.
next probably 1 hour or maybe less, actually, 30, 40 minutes, maybe.
Yes, 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 definitely.
Hi, Geeta.
Hi, Priya ma'am. How are you?
Good. How are you? So nice
Doing
to see
well.
you.
Yeah,
Doing
so
well.
nice to
Good,
speak to you
good.
all also.
I know. Nice to see you.
Hi, Priya madam. Hi, Rashmi
Hello,
madam.
sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good
Namaskara.
afternoon.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thanks for coordinating.
no problem, sir. Always pleasure.
Actually, let me see if I can get my screen presented, and then
Yeah.
whenever you give me the green signal, Rashmi ma'am should be good to go.
Yeah.
Screen.
Not bad. About 50 people are here.
Yeah, yeah. 50, 53 are there, including all of us.
Yeah.
Not letting me share.
I forgot the name of the GE
Are you
healthcare
able to see
person,
my
Dr. Priya.
screen?
Yes.
So, Vidhi Prasad.
Vidhi Prasad. Vidhi Prasad, are you aware, Geeta? Do
Vidhi,
you know?
Vidhi.
Yeah, Vidhi.
I am his HR partner. So
Oh,
He is connected to Dr. Priya and Jagdish very much.
yes, he tells me that he meets Jagdish sir and Priya ma'am. I think he comes. I mean, he was coming in regularly into campus, so he would tell
Correct.
me. So
Correct.
actually, I've been partnering as his HR partner since 2017.
Wow.
So he was in a different role at that time, and he used to manage the region that I support. So he was the leader for that region, and now he's moved to another national role, and he still has team members and given based in Bangalore in the same office. So we work quite closely.
I see. Very
Yeah.
nice. Because I
I was
maybe GE is a big organization. I was wondering whether you know Vidhi. Yeah, nice.
yeah, know Vidhi quite well. I think Vinod Satyanarayan also you used to probably talk to or work with some time back.
Back, yeah, long time back.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is he still around? Wow, great.
So that portion of the business we kind of sold off. So it's a different company altogether called Cytiva. But
Oh,
I used to be their HR partner almost 2 years back before
okay.
they were kind of sold. So Vinod, whenever he used to come into our office, he used to mention to me, say, yeah, I went to your college. I met Nagendra sir. I met the faculty. So yeah, it's been
It's all in the memory lanes now. Yeah,
yeah,
3 years, maybe 3, 4 years ago. Yeah,
easily. I was yeah, this is 21, right? Yeah,
correct,
2018 I was in HR partner. Yeah.
correct. And Nitin Chandra, one of our recent pass out, I think 2019 pass out, has joined
Hmm.
G.
Oh,
I
is
don't
18
it?
know.
person.
Yeah,
18. Oh,
which
18 person.
division? I'm not sure. Nitin Chandra.
let me see. I might be able to figure that
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Let
yeah.
me try.
Can we start, madam?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I've switched
Okay.
my screen. Can you just see it? Just let me know.
Yeah, yeah. We will just briefly, okay,
Yes, please.
introduce you, and then we will. We are proud of doing that. So,
Arre, definitely. Thank you, sir.
yeah, yeah. Yes, madam. Rashmi, madam, please.
Yes, sir. Just a second.
You want me to introduce, madam?
No, sir. I have the CV. It will be
Great.
nice if you do it.
No, no problem. Okay. Anybody is okay. Geeta is our favorite
I
student.
am okay. I can do it myself. I have no issues.
Yeah, yeah. We are very proud of Geeta. I have already told 2, 3 times to most of the students during this. Yeah. Please, madam. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. We are very happy to have Ms. Geeta Ranganathan with us. She is the Senior Human Resources Manager, Commercial South and functions at GE Healthcare Bangalore. She has a quite rich experience in the HR domain. So she is HR professional with experience across healthcare and FMCG industries spanning sales, technology, functions, and other segments of organizations. So she has served GE Healthcare for quite a long time. And before that, she has also served in Hindustan Unilever, and she was also management trainee in Hindustan Unilever. Before that, she was a software engineer in Accenture for almost 3 to 4 years. And she has pursued MBA in HR from Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resources Development. And she completed her BA in biotechnology from our department from 2004 to 2008. So we are very happy to have you here, Geeta, today. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Geeta is a wonderful athlete of when she was in our department. Every time she used to sprint and then win only gold medals.
I used to not be in class because of that, sir.
Wonderful athlete, yeah. Golden feet she has, yeah.
Thank you. It's been a year. It's been a couple of years since I've I
Sprinted.
stopped running. Yeah, but I think I've been thinking of picking it up again. Maybe I was thinking this year, but well, let's see how this year pans out. I want to be able to run outside. I think everyone wants to be.
True, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am. It's absolutely great. I'm very excited to kind of be here and talk to you guys. I think MVIT and the department holds a very, very special place in my heart. It goes back a long way, and I'm really excited to be talking to all of you. First of all, I want to start off by saying I hope all of you are staying safe, staying home. These are testing times, but I'm sure we will kind of tide through it. Ensure you keep yourself and your family safe by taking all the precautions that are needed. I wanted to kind of spend the next maybe 30 minutes or so to walk you through what has been my journey so far. I always tell anyone I meet, and when they hear my background, they say, hey, it's a little different that you're a biotech engineer, you worked in software, you work in HR. I mean, how? And I think for me, this completely ties out, and I'll kind of walk you through why does it tie out to me. I do give it a lot of credit to Nagendra sir and the entire department and the faculty for shaping who I am. I'm going to talk through not so much more on technical, but more on what have I learned, what kind of skills have I acquired through my years, which has kind of kept me or placed me in the position that I am today. And I'll walk through some examples of how I kind of got here. In addition to what Rashmi ma'am mentioned, just a little bit about me. I'm from this.
Please hide that, Geeta, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm from this city, grown up here. I spent a portion of my life outside Bangalore and came back here. As ma'am mentioned, 2004 to 2008, this very dear department had some great memories, have some great friends. This is actually a photo from last year when my friend Ranjita there, who I think one Sunday we were going to the airport and we kind of did a pit stop we drove through college. So that photo is from there. Post biotechnology, I think around third year, I was in a phase in my life wondering, saying, do I want to do technical or managerial? Kind of understood myself a little bit. I said, hey, I wanted to pursue a management degree and MBA post biotechnology. I also wanted to get some amount of corporate experience while I do that transition out. So through campus, joined Accenture, joined them as actually a software engineer working in the technology of SAP. I was working on a technology called SAP BI, which is business intelligence. Did that for almost about 3 years. And that's when prepared for my exams, and got an admission into Symbiosis Center for Human Resources Development. This is in Pune, so I moved from Bangalore to Pune to pursue my MBA in HR for 2 years. Great journey, learned a lot there. Um, Along with an MBA, you have at the end of first year, you have an opportunity to do an internship. I did my internship with a company called Hindustan Unilever. Unilever basically makes soaps and shampoos. So brands like Sunsilk, Dove, Knorr, Surf Excel. These are brands that Unilever makes. It's one of the biggest FMCGs in India. I joined them post my internship and completion of my MBA. When you join post an MBA, it's usually the first year is like a leadership program wherein they try and give you an exposure across various aspects, be it sales, if you're joining as a sales leadership program or an HR leadership program. That's what I had joined in. So I had multiple exposure to various aspects of HR, corporate HR. They put me in a factory for about 3 months in the heart of Punjab. I did sales for about a month in Ahmedabad, where I went from the small provision stores. These are called Kirana stores. So one store to another, asking them how much petty, how much crate of Fair and Lovely cream do they want, what is called Glow and Lovely now, how much of Clinic Plus shampoo sachets do they want, etc. Did a couple of stints understanding an HR partner role, and that's what I'm continuing to do today. Did that for about a year, offboarded into a stint which is in a space called diversity and inclusion. This was based out of Singapore. Came back from Singapore after that 6 to 8 month stint to do an HR business partner stint with their Purit, the water purifier business that they have. So it was almost of 1.5 years of living out of a suitcase for me. When I came back to Bombay to do the HR partnering stint with the Purit business, that's when I was getting married. I took a decision to come back to Bangalore, and that's when I joined GE in GE Healthcare. I actually complete 6 years with GE next week, and it's been a great journey. I started as an GE Healthcare as an organization makes medical devices. So when you go into a hospital, God forbid you don't have to go right now, but you say you fracture something, you get an X-ray done, right? So an X-ray machine is something GE Healthcare makes. You need further diagnosis, there's a CT scan that gets recommended, or there is an MRI. Currently, you hear everywhere saying ventilator demand is something that is a little low, and the demand is very high in the market, the supply is low. We also make ventilators. We hence make a lot of medical devices and equipment that is used in the hospital industry largely. We also used to have a life sciences business, which currently isn't part of GE Healthcare anymore. Given GE Healthcare functions in India largely, so it's a manufacturing in India and a sales and service in India. So you have every aspects of an organization. So you have technology, you have manufacturing, you have sales, you have services, and everything else that kind of supports it. So I've started as an HR manager to support the technology side of the organization who are working on designing equipment and building it, etc. I've moved in the last 3 years to be an HR partner to the sales side of the organization. So whatever is manufactured is later sold in hospitals. So I'm an HR partner to those teams, along with all enabling functions which support it. So in any organization which is, say, sales driven, or any kind of an organization, you have a finance, you have a legal compliance department, you have a marketing department, and a couple of other functions, etc. And I support them as their HR partner. I also play a dual role. I will be soon moving into it. We introduced a new HR technology, and it's called Workday, and I kind of lead that for Asia as well. A lot of it would be terms that you have not heard before. So I thought I'll first walk you through what does an HR business partner do, so you also get an idea of what the kind of role is. When you look at an organization, right, you have a certain organization, you have a certain structure in an organization. So if you have a sales team for South, how should that team be structured? What should be support for Andhra Pradesh, Telangana? What is support for Karnataka? What is the size of business? Number of people needed to deliver that size of that business. So a lot of it comes into organization structure, design, ensuring that performance is there. I partner a lot with my leaders on data to decisions. I look at our HR data that comes out. So how's our attrition looking like? How are we hiring? Where are we losing people to? What do I derive from that? Why are people leaving from? How is my structure allowing for growth? These are data-backed decisions that we take to ensure your organization is performing. The key heart of, like you have the heart for a body, the key functioning for an organization is their employees. So what is the experience that an employee has in working with an organization? How are we looking at managing their careers? How are you looking at providing aspects which make sure that the employee is having a great engaged work environment? Being a coach and consultant, I play a role of walking or talking to leaders, talking to employees about various aspects. It could be business related, it could be their own individual growth related. I play a coach in guiding them on how is it that they're looking at aspects because of the different perspective that I bring in. A lot of focus on talent growth and management. All of us want to grow in our careers, right? Like how Google, when you want to go from say Indranagar to Yelahanka, you turn on a Google map and Google map tells you take route A, take route B, etc. All of these can be looked as career paths that people take. So people want to go from A to B. Myself, the role of your manager, etc., comes in helping you understand what route would probably help you. Destinations decided by the employee. Route taken is something that we kind of guide people through in an organization. Finally, a very key aspect of an organization is the culture that is there, the work environment that is there. What are aspects of the culture? It could be things like flexibility, being able to voice your opinion and not facing a call of judgment, being able to take decisions independently and having that empowerment to deliver what you want to do. All of these are aspects that I contribute to as an HR partner for any of the teams that I work with. So apart from this, I thought I'd walk you through a couple of things that I do in my free time. I love traveling. It's an interest I picked up recently over the last 5-6 years. I travel whenever I can. It gives me different perspectives of life to kind of also understand what's happening out there. I write, I blog as well. It helps me translate my thoughts into a story kind of a format. I also draw a little bit, and I'm learning how to cook right now in this lockdown. Now, given this journey of mine, all of this had a lot of transitions that I made across, be it from school to come into engineering, to go from engineering to my first work environment, then again back to studies, and then further working. All of these has had transitions. Along with a lot of technical skills that I picked up, I also picked up a number of other skills where when I reflect and on hindsight, I realized that was something that really helped me in growing in my career and getting to where I am today. Over the next section, which I've kind of titled as transitions, going to walk you through a few of those skills and areas that I developed and how did I develop that. And a lot of it I developed actually being in that department. I'll tell you how. Your technical skills. So you learned biotechnology. I've learned HR as well. It has contributing to my core job. I'm always asked saying how, I remember my first day when I joined GE Healthcare, and I was in charge of being an HR partner to the imaging equipment called CT. So the team which kind of makes the CT. My leader started obviously explaining to me what the product is, etc. And he said, okay, so this is a supply chain and this is an equipment we manufacture. It's called CT. I was like, yeah, computer tomography, does imaging, does this, he does it this way, etc. And he was stunned. He's like, you're probably the first HR partner who understands this, right? So I'm also translating whatever I have learned in engineering to my job right now. Second, sir used to always tell us, during your semesters, you have leave. Why don't you put it to some use? So many of us picked up some projects that we were doing between our semesters. Those projects taught me a lot of things which I translated into my work life in the format of stretch projects. Everyone has a day-to-day job that you do. So like for all of you, it would be to do your subjects for that particular semester, write your exams, etc. In my job also, I have a certain job description, like a core job that I do. But knowing that I could stretch myself during that time itself gave me that confidence to put my hand up for stretch projects in my role. It helped me understand how do I manage my timelines, going beyond what's actually told to me when I joined. Also applying whatever learnings that I've had from my education to a larger things that are happening in the organization. It also helps me understand what more is happening in the organization beyond my day-to-day job. Abhyuday, I think that was probably the first fest that we kind of organized, all of us, when we were in engineering. I also continued to do that in my B school. I was leading my fest committee when I went there. That taught me a lot of things. It taught me how to take initiative, taught me a lot of team working with people who are completely or coming from a different thought process in a working environment, taught me hence collaboration, taught me problem solving. We were hunting for sponsors and that's obviously very difficult to get. You need to be perseverant with the sponsor. You need to know how to communicate, trying to show them what's in it for them to be able to sponsor us. So picked up all those skills which I continue to use right now in a corporate environment. Finally, participation in a number of things. It could be external events, could be sports events, could be department activities. It taught us how to look at what is happening outside, how do you pick up elements of it and then probably inculcate in what we do. In a corporate terminology, you call it outside-in thinking, or you call it like a benchmarking activity. It also taught us to think beyond what we are seeing in an immediate environment. All of us work, we have a certain, say, a circle around us that we are working. You're kind of zoomed in like a horse with blinders and you're trying to work on certain things. But many a times you do have to zoom out to see what is happening around and how does things translate. And that's what kind of working with other things, working beyond what you're doing kind of helped me inculcate all of that. Couple of mantras that I keep at work. I use this personally. It's not something that I have attained, but I still continue to use this and I learn as I grow. First thing is know your fundamentals. It could be anything. It could be that you're working in a biotechnology setup, you're working in a pharma setup, you're working in a software setup. Anywhere you go, whatever is your core job, your core skill, you need to know your fundamentals of it. Let me give you an example. In my first month in Unilever, I was put into a factory in the heart of Punjab. This was a factory which makes Surf Excel. I guess all of you know Surf Excel, right? So this was a factory which was making Surf Excel. Surf Excel has a certain process around how it is made. A lot of chemistry, basically. The person started off because I was an HR trainee. They believe that you may not have any knowledge. Probably that's there because we all come from different backgrounds. Could be commerce, could be doctors, could be anyone, right? So the person started explaining, saying what are the chemical reactions which lead to Surf Excel being in that particular format and how does it remove dirt? What is the principles behind removing dirt? Started talking about the function of CMC, carboxymethylcellulose, started talking about the function of what EDTA does, what soda ash does, etc. These were some things which were fundamentals that I had learned during engineering, be it through chemistry, biochemistry, all of that. And I was someone who was able to quickly relate, pick it up, talk to them to understand what what goes into their skills of making this particular product. So know your fundamentals. It's very important, and it is needed as you grow in your careers. Constant learning. Your learning is everywhere. I learn when I travel. I learn when I work. I learn from my peers. I just choose what I want to learn from everyone. It's very important that you're constantly learning. Unless you're learning, you're not going to be growing. Um, from a learning standpoint, everyone learns differently. Someone sees a TEDx talk, someone likes to read a book and learn, someone sees webinars and learns, someone talks to people and learns from them. So it's absolutely fine. Your methodology of learning could be anything, but you need to constantly keep learning. When I joined Accenture, I was in a software job. Well, biotechnology to software, two completely different things. Well, I also used to question myself, saying, "Hey, why am I kind of doing this role, etc." But I did have an end goal, saying I wanted to move into HR at that point in time. I So what I did was, whatever time I was working in that organization, I learned how the software industry itself kind of works. So how does software? How is the software coded? What are different phases of your software life cycle, etc. At that point in time, I never realized that. I thought I would probably never put it to use again. 5 years later, my first role in GE Healthcare was supporting technology teams, which are a couple of them who were working on the software aspect of a CT machine. And they were working on technologies which were called agile technologies, currently what is being used in the software field. I was able to understand exactly what agile meant. What did they mean by sprints? How does this all tie up? What do they mean by saying when you go from testing to production? So I completely understood their job. It was important in my role that I understand what they are doing. If I don't understand, I would not be able to partner with them in all other activities that I spoke about earlier in this kind of doing. So it's very important that you learn in whichever situation that you are in. You never know where that knowledge would come of use to you. Staying relevant. The iPhone or any Android phone that you are using right now, the one that you bought last year, will soon get relevant in the next will become irrelevant in the next couple of years. Software which was launched last year may or may not be working this year. Any product, anything, the way at which our world is evolving is almost in like minutes and seconds. It is extremely important that you stay relevant to whichever field you're going to be working. It's in HR, for example. I try and stay relevant in understanding what's happening in the HR field. What's the newest thing in HR? It could be HR analytics, example. What is the new age thing that is going to be happening? I also try and stay a little relevant in the healthcare field because I'm working in a healthcare company. So I talk to my leaders. So like a couple of the leaders whom Nagendra sir and I were talking about, I talk to my sales team to understand, hey, what are you seeing in the market? So what do you think as an organization we should be doing? It's very important that you understand beyond, and staying relevant will kind of come to you naturally if you have a curiosity about understanding about a larger organization or what goes inside the functioning of that organization. If I'm, say, a software engineer who's going to be working on some piece, it's good to understand where is that software being used? What is the end outcome that is going to be there? Example, a CT machine is manufactured and it's sent to a hospital. Who's using that CT machine? It's a doctor who's using a CT machine? Maybe not. It is a radiologist or a technician who's using that CT machine. So you then understand what your organization is trying to do beyond your core job itself that you're doing. Take risks. A lot of us have been part of your career journey. You would have times saying, hey, why am I doing this? I don't like doing this. Why has this work been given to me? I'm not enjoying it at all. I do not like doing this. But it's important that you take risks and be okay with being uncomfortable. This happened to me last year when I was about 3 years in my current role. And my HR head, whom I work with very closely, came up to me and said, Geeta, our headcount analytics, our data analytics is a big mess. Since you worked in technology and in sales, I think you have some idea of the organization. Why don't you immerse yourself and kind of clean up the data that we have, put it in a format, because we have headcount, say, targets and headcount planning, etc., that we need to work on. I had absolutely no idea. Data analytics, Excel sheets are not my strength at all. But I said, okay, I told him that I'm going to struggle, but I will ask for help when I need it, of course. But I took that risk because whatever I was doing was going to directly the HR head of my organization and my CEO ultimately, and my chief financial officer as well. So big people, hence very important to ensure that work that you're producing is top notch. So it was a huge risk that I was saying yes to, knowing that it's not my strength. It took me a number of months of focused Excel sheet work, figuring out, calling up people, asking them, how do you do things? 6 months, or almost a year later, right now, I have been in a position to kind of advise or let my HR head know, saying that, hey, this is the structure you need to put together. This is how you need to do your headcount planning. If this is the kind of attrition that you're seeing, these are the steps you need to take. These are proactively roles that you need to ensure you're critically hiring for on time. This is what you kind of present to global teams when you talk. It's taken me almost a year to get there, but 1 year later, I can somewhat say that I understand analytics. I want to do something more in this space. So it's very important that you take risk, be okay to be uncomfortable in whatever that situation is, but put in that efforts to ensure you create that uncomfortable situation into something that you're going to be comfortable with. The fifth thing that it's helped me, I also kind of coach others on it, is self-awareness. Your technical skills are absolutely important. But as you grow or you want to grow in the organization, a lot of other things also become important along with your technical skills. You may, as a loose term, call it soft skills. I call it life skills, basically, or leadership skills. Self-awareness is one of the very core things to it. If I am not aware of what is a strength, what is a development area that I have, I'm not going to be able to act on them and grow. I may believe that, say, a strength of mine is good articulation and communication. But if I don't validate it, for example, if I don't ask you guys, say, how did this come across? Did you understand what it is? I'm not validating what my strength is. So I may be in a situation believing that communication is my strength, but whoever I work with may believe, hey, Geeta can't communicate at all. So that's a big gap. So it's very important that you are self-aware, you understand your strengths, you understand your area of development. When you understand your area of development, you're going to be more open to asking for feedback from people. So I'm going to ask you after I do this, saying, how did I do? It's also an area that I want to understand, because I believe that whenever I do, say, a topic like this, a session like this, I do multiple of them at my work. I need to get better at it as I'm growing. If I don't take that feedback and if I don't act on that feedback, I'm not going to grow. Versus if someone tells me, saying, Geeta, the presentation was absolutely bad, and I stop talking to you the next day, that means I'm closing myself to a feedback or a gift which was given to me in an intent to help me develop. So self-awareness is something that's very critical for anybody who's growing in any space that you are in. This can also be applied in your personal life, right? How are you dealing with your family as well at home? The second piece of this is understanding your own value system. When I started off when looking for a job, I was fairly certain what did I want. I wanted a job which, I was very clear that I wanted the content of that job to be rich. I wanted a lot of learning in my job. I wanted some amount of flexibility in the kind of work that I'm doing. I didn't want to be in a job which had an 8-hour swipe in, swipe out. It's a personal value that I have. I wanted to work in an environment where people heard my thoughts, heard my ideas, and gave me that space to go execute that idea. And even if I fail, it's all right. You take risks, you may be bound to fail, but it's okay. I wanted that kind of a work environment. So I kind of put that out as my value system, saying these are areas that I will look at in my job that I'm searching for. Salary, of course, is something that is important. It pays our bills. But at that point in time, I felt I'm okay saying I had an idea saying what did I want, but I was not very hung up on that. For me, the first three aspects of my content of my job, the kind of environment I'm working with, the people I'm working with was far more important than, say, a salary. Of course, I needed a basic salary for surviving, etc. But I felt this was something that I needed early on in my career so that I am able to grow in my career as well. As you grow as an individual, as a professional, other aspects of rewards that are there around you does follow automatically. Finally, being resilient. Everyone has their ups and downs. I've seen my downs as well. But the ability of yourself to pick yourself up from whatever is that situation and to bounce back stronger, that is what is being resilient. There have been days when I have also received feedback saying that, hey, we not very good, not right. I did feel extremely upset about it for a day or two. But I came back after that to say, okay, what do I do to fix it? If I have to do this again, what do I do to fix it? So being resilient it's almost a life skill. Right now, all of us are going through times which I don't think anybody has kind of been through. It's not filled with a lot of joy. You hear a lot of stories which are all negative stories around you. But being resilient in this situation and saying, I will fight it out, I will leverage this opportunity that I have. I'll try and look at the glass as half empty and see what else can I do out of it. How do I not get bogged down by, say, negativity that's happening around me? How do I not get bogged down by, say, any critical feedback that's coming my way? But how do I turn it around and use it for my benefit? That's something that is very core to growing in your career, and that's what is being resilient. With that, I will kind of take a pause and I will talk about the last aspect before going or opening it up to any questions or anything that you have. Has anyone heard of this concept called Ikigai? Have I rambled a little bit too much? Has anyone heard this concept? It's okay if you haven't. Okay, I'll presume that you haven't heard of this concept. Ikigai is a Japanese concept called what is your reason for being. In our life journey or work journey, career journey, etc., there are a number of things that are there. There is something that you love doing, right? It's something that you are also good at. So I love, being an HR partner. I think I'm also good at it and something that I'm passionate about. I realized I'm good at it and hence I can get paid for it. So making it a profession for myself. I also believe it's some aspects of my role that the world needs. So it could be guiding somebody through a career dilemma that they are in. I also currently, like I was saying, I help people ensuring that there are hospital beds and there are concentrators, etc. available. I help employees through crisis. I coach them on how do they manage themselves through the crisis. Everyone has some family member or they themselves are down. I'm also helping them through all of this. So I've kind of tied that up saying that this is what I am doing. I'm also making it a profession. I'm making it a vocation. If you're there, it's not necessary that all of these have to tie together. You may be good at something you may love doing. So I love traveling. It's a passion for me, but I'm not in a position right now to get paid for it. But that's okay. That's all right. But it's also an interest area that I kind of keep going. It keeps me more engaged in even the day-to-day work that I do. I kind of understand, say, what is it that the world needs and what it is that I can make from a profession standpoint. It may be in this field, it may not be in this field, but that's also okay. It's important that you have this concept in your mind to just see that whatever am I doing, am I getting true happiness also out of what it is that I'm doing. When you miss out certain aspects of this, that's when you have feeling of emptiness, or you might have a satisfaction, but you're still feeling useless because you don't have a mission or a purpose of it. You might have the excitement or complacency of doing things, but there might be certain uncertainty along with it also. So it's these aspects of life kind of come together. It's in the central piece, and that's what Japanese call your reason for being as an ikigai. I haven't reached the center portion yet. I'm still searching for what I want to do. But I thought I would let you know and leave this concept as something that I've found very interesting. It's actually a book, so pick it up and read it if, in case it interests you. And with that, I kind of wanted to open up for questions, any thoughts also on, whatever it is that I shared. In case I was too fast, let me know. I'm happy to also go back to it.
Great, Geeta. It was wonderful listening to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any thoughts from students? I think you should use this opportunity.
Geeta,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think it's wonderful. I just love that concept of Ikigai. And I'm sure going to pick up that book and read it. It's really wonderful. Nagendra sir, I think if if this was an offline meeting, I would have probably stood up and I would have clapped for Geeta. Really,
You're being
it was
very
really
kind.
so wonderful. So
Yeah,
wonderful.
she's a wonderful orator. That.
Oh, amazing. Very nice.
Hi,
Very
Geeta.
nice.
Good evening.
Hi, Jagdish, sir.
How are you, Ma?
Doing good, sir. How are you? So nice to hear your voice.
You have not changed. Even 1% of energy is not changed.
Thank you.
I was recalling how you used to run around the corridors. And you mentioned that this thing now, you are a part of, with Shilpa, you are a part of this, committee, right? Which committee in the conference? I remember all those things.
Yeah, sponsor committee.
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship, right there.
Sponsorship. Sponsorship.
Along with the Shilpa. Oh God. Yeah. Thanks, Ma.
Shilpa and Lakshmi.
Yes,
Lakshmi. Thanks, Ma, for the
If
enlightening.
you stop sharing, Geeta, I will just share one of
Sure.
your memories.
Oh, please. Sure. Stop sharing.
Okay, let me see whether I can.
Yellow, sir?
Yellow
Just a photo. I'm going to be looking at half my size of what I am currently.
I have got it.
Okay, let me just see that.
Yeah, the PPT that VTU, sir. Yeah.
I think so. I'm trying to share. Right, it's not coming.
Just click on the center box and then the share button gets enabled, sir. Even I was struggling with it in the beginning.
Center box window, you mean?
Yeah, the center window that pops up,
okay,
right?
Okay, yeah. I think. Yes, Geeta, you're there.
Oh,
Sir, zoom ಮಾಡಿ ಅದು maximize ಮಾಡಿ.
zoom ಮಾಡಿ.
Zoom ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾ?
ಅಲ್ಲ, full
Slideshow.
ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ.
Slideshow.
Slide show ಇದೆಯಲ್ವಾ?
Right
It's
side
there at
corner.
the bottom. It's there at the bottom.
Not slideshow? It's not going to slideshow?
No,
ಇಲ್ಲ
it's
ಇನ್ನು
not.
slideshow ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ.
Oh, I don't know.
Increase
Okay,
ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
because here it is
I
going to
can see
slideshow.
it. Oh my god. You should send me this photo. I don't have this. I've been
Really?
searching for it.
Okay.
Okay,
This is-
I was half my size, just so that others know. I was half my size when I was in
That's
college.
why I think the air was carrying you.
Yes.
You are blown. I think you were blown by the
Yeah.
wind itself, probably. Yeah.
Completely. This was the VTU one, I remember.
Yes. VTU. That's right. Yeah. I don't know why I'm not able to go for slideshow mode.
That's a nice memory. Thank you, sir.
Not able to show the entire.
No problem.
So I was, thanks for that mantras at work. I think I learned a lot personally, especially that constant learning concept. Whatever you mentioned is wonderful because, no, it's a rightly you said. Like, I was thinking how much I should learn constantly. Thanks for that.
Thank
You
you. So
enlightened a lot.
I personally try to follow that. I know I don't want to overkill myself and make myself super productive and all, but it also feels that suddenly you are doing something, and then when you're stagnating at it, you want to figure something out or learn something else, right? So even in the lockdown, I was figuring out what to do and something. So I think now our necessity, I'm learning how to cook. I have nothing else to do. I'm learning how to cook.
Yeah.
That's something that's teaching me patience right now because I'm learning it from my mother. So I need a lot of patience.
Great.
Yeah.
Seem like you're pre-planned like anything, like engineering to MBA, because you're the first person to enter into Symbiosis. Whenever I show, if I access your LinkedIn, that means that I'm showing to somebody else. That's how. Yeah, really, because
I don't
you can
track
ask
it.
any students. I open up in the LCD projector because you are the unique, example for the department who has been taken the MBA, that to biotechnology. But later, some people has taken up, the MBA, and you are moved back to Unilever, and all those stories are very, very interesting.
I think that's where I tell I've got this question. I cannot from my MBA entrance to I think Accenture to everywhere. I've got this question saying biotechnology engineer during doing HR like how, and I I have been in so many situations that I actually thank myself for probably coming here and doing the biotechnology course in the department, etc. Because I personally learned a lot, and I still use whatever I've learned. I mean, I used to support a life sciences team, and understanding the whole idea of how is a bioreactor made, what are they kind of using cell cultures for, what kind of media is being used to be able as an HR professional to hold that conversation with a business leader, it has immensely helped. And none of this was planned. I'm generally somebody who never plans my career. I take things as they come, kind of evaluate it, saying, do I want to do it or not? If it's something different, I choose it. Right now, also, I'm kind of going into a slightly different role, which normally people don't choose to do. But I've touchwood been fairly lucky to also been in these situations where I've been able to leverage whatever I have learned in the past. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great thing actually, because after this only, like every company looked at people who are specialized, because they understood that okay, there is a need of these specialized people with the specialization of MBA. Now MBA, sorry, bioeconomics has come in post
Yes.
graduation in bioeconomics. I kept telling so
Yes.
many students, biotechnology and economics, like see biocon and all, they prefer more like with having a BE degree and MBA, they can understand the language of science and the business and marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
very
good thing.
important. Like for example, I was in some situations of hiring senior people, and in fact hiring for that life sciences team that used to be there. And if I have to look at a job description, I used to, in an HR interview, not ask a typical HR question. I used to also check what is the knowledge that they had of their fundamentals that are there, because that's something that's very core. And if you don't understand in be it whichever subject that you're picked up, right? Even if it is bioeconomics, if you don't understand biotechnology or economics, you will not be able to apply it or in any role that you're doing. Hence, knowing that core is very, very important.
Do you think that now the things have changed in like in your domain? Like it's not the hardcore MBA, that people also appreciate domain like that, like specialization MBA related to these kind of things or projects?
So, you're asking whether an MBA in biotechnology or an MBA meaning a healthcare segment MBA
Yeah.
or something like that.
Now, whether companies have understood that need of these MBA with some sort of specialization like this, or general MBA is also.
So general MBA is something that they're okay, but in certain areas, so for example, healthcare, it is
Say
because
for example, if I take biocon as an example.
So
how
it
like
it gives you an edge, sir. It definitely gives you an edge. They may look at a slate of all kinds of candidates who have done different MBA from different backgrounds, etc. But um, this at least makes you to say a shortlist, right? And then after you make it to the shortlist, it's completely you, what you present about yourself, and how do you make it relatable to that organization. Having that knowledge and that background definitely helps.
okay, thank you.
All of the skills or whatever that you learn, right? It gets you to a certain level. So, for example, whatever education that I've had, whatever HR domain skills that I've picked up, landed me at a interview with say GE Healthcare at that time. Say once I've converted that job, what am I doing in that job? It starts from zero. What am I bringing to that table? What value am I bringing? And I'm bringing certain skills, certain value, which translates to me doing that job well. And once I do that job and say get promoted to my next level, the clock again resets to zero because expectations at that level is different. So hence, to your question on also learning, it's constantly reinventing yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Students? Yeah.
Students, please interact.
No question is a stupid
Symbiosis.
question. Don't worry. Yes, sir.
Symbiosis has this biotech management also, no?
I think they started it in the last couple of years. I think they had a healthcare management that they started some few years back.
Correct. Are you aware of that? Somebody was asking, and I was under the impression that you were part of it.
No, sir. I think this was very recently that they started it, so I'm not fully aware of what it entails.
Okay. So somebody wanted to know how different is the conventional management from healthcare management, and is there any advantage in going through that?
I'll have to look into it. I'm not fully certain.
Okay. But will it be valuable for any of the healthcare organizations if they go through such kinds of so-called specializations?
It helps when you're looking at roles in hospitals, like
Okay.
maybe to some extent healthcare equipment companies, but the entire hospital pharma space, it's
Okay.
helpful there because you're literally core skills.
But opportunities would exist or would get
Opportunities are there.
restricted. Yeah.
You kind of get restricted to your industry. So
Correct.
you're largely working in the healthcare pharma space then, while a general MBA kind of opens the industries up. That's the only difference.
Okay. Maybe you can throw some light because some of our students do ask about
Sure. So
doing specific specializations of that kind. Yeah.
it's also an interest area, sir. So if somebody is extremely, and I'll go back to Ikigai and say someone's very passionate about working in the healthcare space, doing a healthcare MBA degree is quite good. You then can look for opportunities in hospital industry. You can look for opportunities in medical equipment industries, pharma industry, life sciences industry, etc. The entire healthcare ecosystem, right? You can look for opportunities there, provided you're fairly certain that you would want to work in this kind of an industry. But versus if you're looking at saying, I'm not very industry specific, I'm open to working in any industry across, then maybe a general MBA kind of helps you better because it makes you a little bit of industry agnostic. From a content, I haven't exactly looked at the content of an healthcare MBA versus a general MBA, but more or less certain concepts would be similar in nature. So MBA teaches you economics, fundamentals of finance, fundamentals of HR, supply chain, operations. All of these are certain basics which are there. Every industry has it, from healthcare to say even paint industry for that matter. So these are certain concepts that would be there. Maybe the second year of an healthcare MBA might be a little more detailed about how do things run in healthcare industry or hospital administration. What are things that are kind of looked at, etc. So it may go into a bit of specifics on that, and that's where a general MBA is far more neutral and not industry specific.
Very right, very right. Yeah, but you had a specialization in HR, or was it still a
HR.
general both the years?
HR.
Okay, so all the MBAs have a specialization in their second year, is it?
Yes.
Is it,
Good question, sir. So probably let me also throw a light on the other specializations that are there. There are multiple B schools in our country, of course. So you have the IIMs, you have the Xavier's, XLRI, it's called. You have Tata Institute of Social Sciences, you have MDI Gurgaon, you have multiple other B schools which are there. Every B school has a different specialization, but when you take a general MBA, the first year is fundamentals of all aspects of business. Business has finance, HR, marketing, sales and marketing together, communications, accounting, economics. All of these are basics, and this is largely the first year. So like your engineering, your first year is basics of physics, chemistry, maths, all of them, right? And second year, you kind of go into electronics or biotechnology, etc. Similarly, in an MBA, it's your business aspects of it, which is the first year. Second year or towards, say, mid around maybe about after your first semester, so the middle of the first year, you kind of decide what is a specialization that you want to take, because you also have pre-placements or whatever we call it for your internships, which happen at the end of the first year. So that's why you need to have chosen a specialization by the end of your first semester. So your second, third, fourth semester, so B school 2 years, so 4 semesters, would largely have higher increasing number of subjects in the area of specialization. So if you're choosing sales and marketing as a specialization, say from your second semester to third, fourth semester would be higher number of subjects around sales and marketing. What does account sales do? What does channel sales do? How do you do marketing? How do you establish a brand? How do you do digital is very big right now. So how do you do digital campaigns? What are some frameworks around it? That's something that sales and marketing does. Operations. So supply chain is a backbone of any organization, right? Which is manufacturing in nature. What is operations? What are certain concepts in operations? All of these, next, finance. What are certain pillars of finance? Finance has different aspects. You have controllership, you have the financial analytics or financial analysis that are there. How do you look at balance sheets? How do you look at asset management? All of these are aspects which they dive deep into in your second year of any MBA. Similarly, for an HR domain as well. An MBA largely teaches you a lot of frameworks. It teaches you problem approach solving, etc. It also teaches you how to work, because you're going to be doing a number of assignments. You're working in an environment of people who have come from Northeast to doctors who are doing an MBA in HR, BDS, commerce people, all different backgrounds, all put together and are kind of working in an environment. So MBA kind of not only teaches you the basic skills or the knowledge that you need from a technical standpoint, it also teaches you other skills in terms of working in environments, working in an environment which is constantly changing, how to deal with high pressure situations, because you probably have 8 subjects per, or 8 to 10, 12 subjects per semester, and your semesters are hardly less than 6 months. So how do you deal with all of that is something that MBA also prepares you for.
Very true, because as you know, okay, I think from your time onwards, I think, or from the time the course has got initiated and kick-started, people are somehow, maybe because of our environment or the departmental projects or activities, or maybe sort of fine-tuned, or I would put it as polarized towards some aspects, like maybe R&D is the profession that I want to take up,
Yeah.
something like that. But I think you are a good example that way. So I wanted to just ask you. Um, so this mindset of course, so many of our students have done excellently well. I think Imran Hassan is one such wonderful example. Maybe you know, he was your senior,
Yes.
and he is now with Perkin Elmers, and then of course he has traveled 91 countries, and then he
Yeah.
is the Asia Pacific manager kind of a thing. So he has scaled wonderful heights that way. So people are sort of, I don't know, hesitant or not so clear about taking up these roles. Whenever we say, because we do get requests from several companies, since you have some biotech engineering graduates, are they willing for marketing jobs? Most of our
Yeah.
students don't go for it. Don't go for it, as you know.
Actually,
So,
and
yeah.
that's a very good point, sir. Ranjita, who's
Ravi,
my batch.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
So,
now director, right? Yeah. Last
correct.
time she
She
spoke to
runs
us.
her own company right now, but when she passed out of campus, she took a sales job with Millipore.
Correct.
Millipore? Yeah, she was Millipore. Yeah, she took a sales job with Millipore. I did have a potential side. I could have gone into sales, but at that time I had my awareness saying that I probably, when I do an MBA, would not be sales. It would probably be HR. Hence, I needed some more time and some space around me to be able to pursue that. And that's why I took a software engineering job which had some structure around it versus sales, which is a very unstructured environment. So, but it's absolutely okay. In fact, I constantly keep saying you never know what learning that you have can be applied in which environment. Until you are there, you will just never know it. I never knew that I will apply my software skills in partnering with software teams, and I knew exactly when someone was bluffing to me about their job. So it it, I had no idea I was going to be doing that. I'm actually going into a role right now which is HR technology. I'm working on a HR systems for entire GE for an Asia side, but understanding how they work like a software team in an agile technology. Like they have 2 week sprints. They are bringing in this. There is this bug they need to fix. This I am right now able to understand all of that because I did that stint in Accenture. So
Very true.
it's unless you get into it and make the most of that situation, and it applies for wherever. Even if you pick up a marketing job, I think you'll be blessed to have a marketing. I would have loved it if someone gave me a marketing job at that time, but well, we didn't. I didn't have that opportunity, but that's completely okay. I'm finding my way around. It's unless you get into it, give your heart and soul, and you learn something out of it. Basically, seeing the glass as half full, half empty, and not half full. You can be in a situation, you can continue to complain, saying that this is not what I wanted to do. Oh my God, why am I stuck here? Versus saying this is an opportunity. Let me see what I can learn out of it. I will continue to focus and work towards where I want to be. But that's again a journey.
You're right. That is the challenge, because people, I don't know, okay, maybe most people, especially younger generation, want that. Last time also, when one of them was speaking to all of us, was mentioning they want to settle down, under quotes. Still, I have not understood that. Settle down very quickly in life, I think, make fast money or whatever. Okay, I don't know, because maybe that mindset is what they get driven by. Okay, R&D is a cozy thing, or a very comfortable thing, or a very white collar job kind of a thing, or
No.
an IT job would be comparison with IT. Okay, would be very comfortable life. So in
Yeah.
5 years, I can make this much amount. Okay, I can have this house, this car. I don't know. Maybe the aspirations may be something like that. But we always mention, but okay, as faculty members, we don't have that experience. So our words will not be so much valued. So we
But
always mention that kindly take up those challenging jobs, and then you can scale wonderful heights as
yeah,
well.
exactly. So I personally believe in this, and I've actually not negotiated, even when I was joining G, I didn't negotiate my salary. I actually did. Um, well, I did have peers who were probably earning far more than me at that point in time. I had peers who were settling down or buying houses and cars, etc. But I understood my value system for me was to have a job wherein I'm going to be learning. There's absolutely no shortcut to any success. Hard work, smart work is something that's absolutely key. And anyone in any organization can see through it if an individual is not able to produce that outcome or that deliverable that is there. And hence there is no shortcut to making it. It's just about what takes you to a certain extent. Something that you possess will take you to only a certain extent. The next part of it has to be scaled by what is your attitude towards doing that piece of work. Now, you may have a number of peers around you who can probably are earning more, maybe are suddenly buying houses. They also have their life journeys. It also goes up and down. You have seen a sinusoidal curve, right? Your analog signal. That's exactly how it goes. But it is not a competition with them. It's not a competition at all. It's a competition with yourself to see how are you getting better. How are you getting yourself more skilled to be more marketable? What roles, if I pick up, helps build my niche wherein I can contribute very well. If I go and apply for a job in Biocon, say I can tell them right now, say I'm from this background, I have this experience, I understand your sector. It's because of this experience and everything that I have gotten myself kind of gained over the last couple of years. But there's no easy way to it. An IT job is equally tough. I've partnered with software teams. I know how much of demand is there. I know what is the kind of hours that they work. I get to hear all of it. But the grass is always greener on the other side. Unless you kind of go in, test the waters yourself, you will not know whether this is something you want to do or not want to do.
Well said. Well said. Because we have had challenges when somebody requests for CVs, we don't get any, or the inclination from the student community is not there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's also, say, for example, so let me take that example that you said of someone approaching you saying that we want someone to join as a marketing job. When I joined biotech, actually, I had told my dad saying I will join this and I'll probably move to the US and do a master's, something. In second year, I think towards the end of it, I realized maybe R&D wasn't my piece of cake. And I liked working in multiple teams. I liked being around. I understood things which were larger than technical. And that's where I wanted to go into the managerial side of things. When I entered, it was a different thing. When I was midway, it was a different thought altogether. And that's what I realized was probably a strength. If I go into R&D right now, I don't know how I would have kind of fared. But it's always about what do you want to try? What is a new experience you want to try? Unless you are open to trying new experience and you're and I think the students are in a phase where they can experiment. So it's a good phase to be in. It's good to learn as much as you can, because as you learn and as you do these different kind of roles is when you will be able to carve out a niche. Anyone in any interview asks you saying, why should we hire you? There is a niche, there is a value that you would be bringing in by the diversity of experiences that you have.
well said. Thank you so much. I hope some of them who had these doubts would be now clear about how to now pitch in themselves and then build their talent. Very important through their journeys. And I think that success will always come for people who work towards it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's as long as you're passionate, you know your job very well and you're doing it with your heart and soul, that success and that money and that everything else around it will just follow. If you're going to be doing something without a heart, it's something that you're doing half-heartedly. It's not going to yield the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, any other student has any other? I think we have only interacted with Geeta. which we always enjoy, of course.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Yeah, such a wonderful learning. Okay, we are so proud of our students that we are able to learn from all of you. That's a wonderful thing.
It's all your learnings at work, sir, that we learned from you.
No, it was only a platform that we provided, and you have mastered yourselves.
No, sir,
to
you
the
taught
best way.
ABCD for all of us. I'm telling you seriously. We learned ABCD, then, including me, and
And
we
then
know how to
English.
use those ABCD into English, whatever
Yes.
words, sentences. That I tell you from bottom of my heart. Geeta, I have a general question because whenever a student comes, I get, telling them do this, road not taken kind of thing, what you have done. So, can you hear me? Isn't
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
So if taken Indian B school like SP Jain is there, just I keep telling that look for SP Jain. So what is your opinion that can they look for these kind of schools or normal like VTU based MBA, but there is no specialization? No, thinking of the placements and the school which matters for the job. So what is your opinion on this? Because SP Jain here in Singapore is also there. I was telling Snehal, Snehal, are you there? When you asked, we discussed that why can't you look for SP Jain? Because one of our alumni too,
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir. Yeah.
Pooja Nair, she joined there, and Amara, that she joined one of the
Amara
Manningham.
Kapoor.
Yeah. She was in top schools like
Yeah.
Manheim, so on so. So, just what is your opinion? Like, can they choose these standards, these schools where they can get good job opportunities?
But there is a cost
placement?
factor also, no,
Yeah,
Geeta,
cost
with all
is-
those schools.
That's
There's
what
a
I
what,
wanted to.
There is a cost factor also, no?
Yes.
SP
So-
Jain or whatever, ICFI, I don't know, maybe. B
There is-
schools means people also are worried about that fees structure or the cost factor associated.
Correct. That's also there. I completely get it. I'm actually going to touch upon something that I didn't touch upon earlier, and something that I learned from here, from the department during my 4 years, is the value of research. When we were, I think, the third batch, no, sir, of biotech, probably at VTU. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
very true.
Correct. So we didn't have textbooks. We used to look at our seniors' notes and then some 4 or 5 from Pelzar to Leningrad to multiple books to kind of figure out maybe an answer to one question that we were anticipating in an exam. I used to tell myself, oh my God, why so much effort? But then I realize right now, and it is something that I did for 4 years has become a habit, like a behavior. It has almost become like a behavior for me. Whatever I pick up, I do a bit of research. When it came to B school, be it when I travel to a country, I do like I have an Excel sheet when I travel because I've done research of which place to go, what to see, etc. So that research mindset, I think I picked up from here definitely. I applied that when I was looking for B schools. I was certain I was going to be I wanted to do HR, and I then did a little bit of research to read up on when Google was rudimentary at that time to see what were the best B schools which were there. IIMs are great schools for general management, right? So you write CAT and you kind of get in there. SP Jain also has good. SP Jain is good with operations. Its marketing sales also are very good. There's IIFT in the north, which is for foreign trade, but it also caters to a lot of Indian market. MDI Gurgaon. In HR, there were basically 3 schools which were there. There was XLRI, which is in Jamshedpur, which largely caters around labor unions and core HR, factory core HR, but also does a lot of general HR as well. So that's one of the top B schools for HR in the country. TISS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, was another HR, but school for HR, where in fact I have a number of my colleagues from that school. I didn't want to go there because I felt my value system and my principles were not really in line. I wasn't inclined that way. I was clear I wanted an MBA as such. The second school was the one that I passed out of, which was SCMHRD. I actually wrote only 2 exams. I was taking a huge risk. I was in my 3rd year of doing a role which I wasn't really had my heart in it. But I took that risk of writing 2 exams. I did work very hard for it. I applied to only 2 B schools, which was Excel and SCMHRD. Excel, I missed the cutoff by about 0.5, I think. And thankfully, I think God was great and I managed to get into SMHRD. So it's about doing your research. It's also about understanding what do you want. I did write CAT. I did write SPJN. I wrote the NMIMS Nasi Monji exam as well. I wrote all those exams. I wrote a couple those exams maybe 2-3 years in a row. But when I wrote it, I half-heartedly wrote it. And I think that's where I knew saying that I wanted to do HR and it will be one of these two B schools. The second piece on cost factor. I also worked for a few years. I also kept in mind saying that I will save up a little bit for my B school. And I was able to contribute, putting it back, whatever earnings. And I did save a large amount of my money to be able to put it back into B school. Right now, also, of course, the cost is one piece. You will be in a role, in a job later on. I think the banking industry has opened up quite a bit. Student loans are something that have become fairly common. Cost is an important factor. I understand it, evaluate it, of course. But don't completely crash your dreams of getting into a B school basis the cost factor. Many colleges also have scholarship programs, especially the ones which are abroad. Research there to see what are your options which are there for funding. Indian B schools, you would have loan options also which are available, which maybe you cut down on some entertainment that you do to be later on to kind of pay off your loans earlier. But if you are certain that you want to do, say, something, maybe an MBA in sales and marketing from a particular college, and that does have your heart, put your heart and soul, and I believe everything else around the world will just work towards making it happen. Some bit of faith also would need to be there. Someone asked me a question here saying, why did you not choose a B school abroad? How do I... okay. I don't know. I wanted to do HR.
Oh, you're not saved that much money, I think.
I didn't even think of it actually, sir, to kind of look at a B school abroad. One is, of course, I had not saved that much of money, but I don't know. I kind of felt that I knew that I'm going to be working here. So it was, since I was picking up HR, it was important that I pick it up, or the local laws is something that's very important in HR. So I needed to understand what are the local laws that are going to be applicable. So for me, example, right now to transport myself and do an HR job in, say, Europe somewhere would have a bit of a discrepancy. I might need to pick up some additional skills because unions there are very big and need to be completely well versed with it. Since I was looking at a subject which had a bit of local context needed, that's why I picked up to do my B school here itself. Plus family, etc. I didn't want to leave my parents and kind of permanently shift out. If you're planning to do a course in a B school abroad, understand what is the area that you're going to specialize in, understand a little bit about that area. So example, if it is in sales and marketing, or if it is general management also, you can pick a good B school that you have abroad, go through their curriculum, understand what is being provided there, understand what happens after you do your 2 years of B school. So what is your job opportunity that is there in that country? Example, if you're doing an MBA in a US B school, what are your opportunities that you would get there? What has been a track record of that school? Where have the alumni gone into? What kind of companies have they gone into? Also see what is the global context that is there. Because many countries are not allowing, say, student visa to get converted into a work visa. So each country has different aspects and economic situations that are happening. Have an understanding of what's happening in that country. Of course, situation will be different 1 year, 2 years down the line. But if you're aware of it, when you start becoming aware, you will start channeling your news and what information you get also around it. So to summarize, understand what do you want to do? What area of, say, MBA you want to specialize in? Understand what are your top B schools in that area? What is the kind of curriculum? Who is the faculty that they have? Where has the alumni gone? What kind of jobs have they landed in? And also keep in mind saying, have a plan B. If I don't get an opportunity to work in that country, are those skills that I'm going to acquire, is it applicable globally? Meaning I get an MBA from, say, a US university, can I come and apply it and I work in an Indian organization as well? Just, you may not have the answers for all of this. But when you talk to people who have been through these journeys, that's when you start getting clarity of what you want to do. And then how do you go about it? I hope I answered your question, Samiksha, right? Yeah. Masters in International Business. International business is something that is, it is really picking up. It's an interesting field to be in. Many of the organizations are going global. You have Indian organizations which have gone global. You have many organizations which are MNCs in India as well. And international business does give you opportunities to be able to understand a world context and then apply that with wherever you want to go. You can see, I always say, please see what you are kind of getting into. Do your research before getting into. Get into something with that knowledge of why am I getting into it. If you're looking at probably doing global roles, working in international markets, understanding world economic situations, all of that in international business masters is fairly good if that's something that you want to do. It's an interesting space. Our world is literally going global. How about business analytics? Snehal, you're talking about the hottest topic in the market right now is business analytics. If you have the flair to understand software, to understand data, to play with that data, to generate insights which lead to business decisions, it's a great field to be in. Business analytics is actually used in every field. Some form of analytics, even I'm learning in HR. I'm starting to learn it right now. I'm learning it through Excel, but I'm also seeing what more can I do it in this space. It's business analytics as a skill is fairly also industry agnostic. Every industry is moving towards having some segments of their population look at business analytics. You have a product in the market. How is the product doing in the market? How is it faring? What's the kind of market share that's happening? How do you get data, play with that data, use that data to drive a business decision is becoming very critical. Every organization from the Facebook to our Zomato is collecting data about when you order on Zomato, you're providing data, right? They're all running analytics behind what is your buying pattern, what is your choosing pattern. When you open any app, it shows you saying that these are areas of interest which should be there. All of these are analytics. And analytics really is a hot skill in the market right now. I hope I answered your question, Snehal. The minimum work experience for this. More than work experience, you need the analytics skills, depending on the role that you're applying for. Pick up a course in analytics, maybe, if that's something that you're interested in. Some roles may need a work experience, some roles may not need a work experience. It's largely dependent on what is it that you're applying for. But if you have some background in analytics, be it through a course, be it through maybe some projects that you have done, that would help. Maybe you don't get into analytics also. You can get into a normal, any core kind of a job, but talk to your manager at that time or talk to your HR partner and say, I want to understand analytics. I want to do a stretch project in analytics. That's how you also gain experience. How do you refine your resume to fit into these kind of job profiles? What kind of job profiles you mean, like international business or business analytics, right?
Hi, ma'am. Something
Yes,
business related.
Okay.
Like anything management side, like let's say if I had to work in Biocon, like any pharmaceutical industry, but the management side of it.
Okay. So I'm going to give you two answers. Some companies, it's also largely depend on the role or whatever that you're applying for. Some companies may say that you need a management degree to get into those kind of roles, right? In some companies, maybe also open to hiring direct engineers in those kind of schools. It's about how do I'm trying to give you an example. How are you presenting whatever you have done, could be in your engineering, in your projects, etc., from that lens? I wanted to do HR. I was working in a software job. I actually picked up some portions of employee experience and engagement, which my HR was running. I went and told her I wanted to do some aspects of this because I didn't tell her I'm thinking of HR, but I just told her, say, I'm interested. Can I volunteer? So I used to run employee engagement kind of initiatives. I spoke a lot about that during my B School interview. So when I did my B School interview, of course, there was something that I did from a job standpoint, but I also told them, in addition, I highlighted the aspect that I contributed to understanding employee experience, getting people together, getting them engaged in certain activities. I probably ran an event of Fun Fridays for about a year, but that was, it's all about how do you wrap and present it. I kind of presented it in a manner that I was talking about employee morale. I was talking about how do people feel more engaged, how people were looking forward to Fridays, how people were looking at how it helped me generate new ideas. How did I talk to other people to see what were they doing and how did we ensure those activities are done? I brought in those aspects into my interview. So it's all about first understanding what role you are applying for. Don't send out a standard one-size-fits-all resume to every company. Read that JD of that organization. Understand what that organization does. And then tailor whatever you have done to do it. I'm not saying force fit. I'm saying tailor it to an extent which allows you to talk about those aspects.
Yes, ma'am. So your experience was very insightful, but also at the same time, you based your previous job experience to your new job profile, right? So you could take the help of your previous job experience for that. But my question was, what about people like us who don't have any work experience and we would like to straight away jump into the management field, management side of it? Because so right now, till date, everything we've done till now, like for example, our internships or our projects, everything is oriented towards research, not the management side. So you help us in that way.
So see, honestly, you may not have many roles which are coming in, which would take you directly to a management side. But if you're getting roles in, say, sales, or if it's marketing, may not be a big brand. But if these are kind of roles that you're getting, that is a segment into a management, eventually management, please. If you're looking at scaling or looking at the jump, an MBA or something of that kind does help. It kind of gives you that help when you're trying to either change fields or you want to jumpstart your field, your career a little bit. But look for certain organizations. You may not get roles which are, don't look for roles which are very high up. Look for a very basic marketing or a sales kind of a role. So if, say, Nagendra sir has certain opportunities which are coming up, or certain companies are kind of open to hiring for marketing profiles, that's the segue into management. but it may not be something that's just extremely high up. It may be something very fundamental, very low, but that's how you kind of learn and grow up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from students?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, Shreya.
Yeah, hi. Ma'am, like Nagin asked, I just want to know about biotechnology management in a more general aspect. So not specialized in any sector like the healthcare sector, so your options are more open. Because biotechnology management is actually a techno management course. You have 50% technical subjects and 50% managerial subjects. Yeah, so if you're in industry, would you have leverage by doing this course over a general MBA?
A biotechnology management, when you have a techno managerial role, it will help you in terms of growing from a technical skill standpoint also. How do I explain that? It may help you when you're kind of maybe not immediately, but as you grow, maybe you might be just doing technical role initially. Maybe your first role could be a pure play technical role, but it gives you an opportunity to apply for roles which, when they open up in your organization, for larger managerial roles as you grow up in the ladder. Sometimes until you have done those technical roles, how do you lead people who are doing those roles? How do you manage a business? How do you apply that to a business scenario? You may not get that directly when you start, because your learning or your understanding may not be that much. But as you grow up, that's when you kind of understand it. And then you're able to translate whatever is the technical knowledge into a business kind of a scenario. When you talk about zooming out and talking a little bit about 10,000, 20,000 feet in the air, that's how you kind of do it. A biotechnology, techno-commercial, techno-business role does, your industry would be largely looking at working in a healthcare or life sciences, pharma kind of an industry, hence your industry is that way. But when you do a general management, it just probably expands your industry hold that is there. You can look at applying to multiple other industries, provided you're fairly okay with the aspect that I'm going to be industry agnostic.
But ma'am, for the biotechnology industry itself, would it be better to do like a general MBA or biotechnology management, because you still have your knowledge for biotechnology?
I think either way is fine. Whatever course, I think it's more about how are you going to leverage it when you are applying, or what is it that you're going to apply for. You can do a techno managerial course in case you believe that you want to continue working on the technical and business side of it. But a general MBA, because you may not want to get into technical aspects or R&D aspects. Because when you do a techno managerial, you can probably do both. You can do a blend of a role. Example, let me take a software example. We have right now our managers who lead teams, right? They have a background in software engineering and they lead teams. They lead business deliverables that are there. But they also get in and code when it's needed. Similarly, when you do a biotech, like a technical and a managerial course, you would be having opportunities to be able to do core bio stuff along with, say, leading teams. But versus when you do a general management, you may want to just get into the managerial aspect of it and not look at technical at all. So that's the kind of difference.
Okay, ma'am. So once you do a techno management course, could you get into the management side of it immediately? Or do you have to build up and get there eventually?
I actually don't have a straight answer for you, Shreya, because it depends on what is the opportunity with that organization wherever that you're applying. Usually when you look at a manager's side, there is some experience that is required, because it helps when you understand, when you've led teams before, and that usually comes when you have some experience. So there may be situations that maybe 50-60% of the time you may get into a technical role and then maybe have the opportunity to move into a managerial side post that. But your degree, if the dual one, helps you in making that transition.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Because the course doesn't exist in India as of now. So you'd have to go to California to pursue your course. And then after that, is there any kind of opportunities in industries to get jobs? And I mean, does it hold any kind of value? Or is just doing a general MBA better?
I don't want to be prescriptive. I think that comes naturally to me because of my role as a coach also. But see, whichever course that you choose, right, be it a general one, kind of ask yourself saying, what do you see yourself doing, say in about 3-4 years down the line, 2 years of B school, then 1-2 years of working. Slightly long term, think about what do you see yourself doing. Then pick a course which would kind of help you get there. If you're seeing yourself that I want to become a manager, I want to become a leader, I want this knowledge of biotechnology, but I want to work on the business side of things largely. When you have that business acumen, then maybe a general MBA will help. But if you're saying that, hey, I want to be, I want to do some technical pieces as well, but I also want to understand and have that business acumen, maybe later in life I want to get there, then the dual kind of course also helps. Opportunities are there in any aspect that you do. It's about how, whatever you're learning, how are you translating that into that interview and making, creating that brand for yourself, saying, I come with this experience, hence I can contribute in this way. That becomes also important when you're looking for a job.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
It was not a straight answer for you, Shreya, but there are a number of things that kind of come into play. Again, whether you want to look at jobs in the US or you want to come back and work in India, hence number of factors for you to think about is what I'm kind of indicating.
Yeah, because if I have to come back and work in India, there are already no opportunities for biotechnology, not much in India as of now. So, and technical management, I don't think it will hold much value in India at least. So if you're doing a master's abroad, then you'd probably
Look for opportunities there.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anything else?
If there are any other thoughts from others, please. Otherwise, she has spent more than 1.5 hours.
Oh, yeah. Didn't realize.
What we thought as a 40-minute session has become 1 hour 40-minute session. 100 minutes. Yes. Yeah, that was inspiring, Geeta. I think we'll all join hands and then thank Geeta Ranganathan for a very, very, very motivating and elaborate, candid, lucid, excellent oratory presentation.
Thank you, sir. Completely my pleasure.
Yeah, it was very, 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 as Madam says, inspiring.
I hope it was useful to all of you who are stepping into new
shoes.
phases of your life. Welcome, please.
Okay. Yeah.
But thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. I completely enjoyed it. It got me into a reflective mode and definitely brought back a lot of memories.
Very, very sweet memories. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. And we request you to kindly keep connected to the department. That is very important because you are all torchbearers of the department and you only can motivate the generations of students, because I think we are getting fatigued. We are not able to.
No, definitely. Fatigue and you, sir, no. But definitely, I mean, learned a lot myself.
We are pushing ourselves, but still, okay. Maybe better word would be we are getting outdated.
No, definitely not, sir. I wouldn't say that. But You are yourself so connected to the industry, so I would definitely not say that. But it's also nice, and I've learned a lot myself from you, from everyone over here, and hence it's been a great journey for me. So definitely happy to stay in touch. I would have so
no, anyway, peer-to-peer sharing of thoughts and guiding, I think that is a very valuable. Okay, rather than some advices from oldies like us. Am I right? Yeah.
I'm just hoping next time we probably meet face to face. But that would have been awesome if we could have done it this time. But I think right now, safety and staying safe and staying careful is utmost priority.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Yeah, I hope things will get back to normal, so-called normal, and we will find some good opportunities to reconnect personally, and then invite you to the department, and you can share all your wonderful experiences as well.
No special invitation needed, sir. It's coming home. So
yeah, please. You have to find time. Only we have to find an occasion, and you have to find time. That's it.
We'll definitely do that.
In photo, you showed that you came on Sunday.
Yeah, I came on a Sunday. I was actually driving past. We were going to Decathlon. We were going to the airport, and this was during COVID time only. So, and last year this was just after COVID. So I think we were going somewhere. I can't remember where we were going. We said we'll just do a drive and go, and because it had been quite a bit of time since we came to college, and the guard actually showed us away. The one who sits out the mechanical department, he showed us away saying, "College is closed. Please go." Like, okay, we'll take one photo and we will leave.
And the layout has also changed. The campus layout. Yeah. You will be confused.
I was surprised to see a gate at the entrance, the road which goes from canteen, which goes straight to the 5th block. I was surprised to see a gate over there. And I think now canteen is outside college because there's a road which goes through it. Like, what's happened?
We'll get lost, yeah.
Yeah, I went searching for my ground. First thing I did is the ground.
Okay.
But thank you so much for this opportunity, sir.
Thanks, Geeta. Thanks so much. Thank you all very much. Thanks, Rashmi madam.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Geeta.
Bye.
Thank you all very much.
Bye, Geeta.
Bye, ma'am.